Today is Tuesday, August 18th, 2026. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. David Crowley wants to become the next governor of Wisconsin. We'll talk to him about how the Milwaukee County executive dropped out of a race, got back in the race, and beat DSA candidate to take on Congressman Tom Tiffany in November. While North Carolina Governor Josh Stein vetoed House Bill 958, the bill would undermine voting rights. Bishop William Barber stood in the front of the state legislature building speaking out against the General Assembly's latest attempt to suppress the vote. We'll show you what he had to say. Karmelo Anthony case is back in the spotlight. This week, his appellate attorneys will demand a new judge and a new trial. In the Nola Wells case, instead of preparing for what should have been his 19th birthday, his family will hold a national day of prayer, and the NAACP joins his legal team. In tonight's ShopBlackStarNetwork.com segment, the Brown Girls Bag, a luxury handbag brand created specifically for black women in mind. And Fox News just keeps lying and lying. Wait till I show y'all how they try to pull the okie doke when it comes to gas prices. It's time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the fine. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best. You know he's Roland Martin now.
Well, let's just say the Democratic race for governor in Wisconsin was pretty wild. You had several candidates who ran. You had a DSA candidate, Francesca Hong, leading. You had former Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes. You had the current Lieutenant Governor. She drops out. He drops out. David Crowley, the Milwaukee County executive, he was in the race. He drops out, gets back in the race, misses the first 10 days on early voting ballot, and he somehow wins by a few thousand votes. Yeah. That's a lot of drama. He could become the first African-American to serve as governor in the state. Also, you have, of course, black candidates in several states as well. Also, if elected, will be the youngest person elected to the office. Joining us right now is David Crowley. Glad to have you on the show. Good to see you again. How the hell did you win?
Well, first and foremost, thank you for having me, Roland. And you know, we made decisions based off of facts when we decided to suspend this campaign. And we learned that a lot of the facts that we were relying on, quite frankly, wasn't right. And so once the lieutenant governor made her decision to get out of this race, we jumped back in. But I'll be honest with you, it was not just, looking at the facts. It was also prayer, talking with my wife, talking with my family. But we knew there was too much at stake for us to sit on the sidelines. And so we got back into this race. And then 3 weeks later, we ended up becoming the Democratic nominee. And I'm excited to not just build a coalition, but to deliver for the working families here in the state of Wisconsin.
You will be facing a Republican who Donald Trump is standing behind. And this is a state Trump barely won, defeating Vice President Kamala Harris. He lost this state to President Joe Biden in 2020, beat Hillary Clinton in this state. Many talk about how Wisconsin is so evenly divided, but you look at those last two Supreme Court races, Democrats came out in full force and crushed Republican candidates. What is your focus? How are you looking at the map in order to understand what you must do to win?
Well, we know that this race is not going to just be about ideology. It's about winning and building the type of coalition across the entire political spectrum. Whether you're a Democrat, Republican, independent, or don't care about politics, it's about how we can move our state forward. And so we're going to be focusing on how we can tackle the affordability crisis, how we can bring care, whether that's child care, health care, in every corner of the state of Wisconsin, and provide more opportunities so families don't just, succeed, but they can thrive into the future.
Health care, obviously a huge issue, but also the economy, jobs, housing. How do you plan to confront those issues on the campaign trail?
Well, you have to meet people where they are. And as we've learned, throughout this campaign trail, is that we've seen a lot of manufacturing plants closing, a lot of jobs that are being taken over by artificial intelligence. And so we have to make sure that we're doing everything that we can as a state to protect them. And that means working with the private sector, working with the public sector, and working with everyone to make sure those opportunities are there. And so I'm looking forward to making sure that we're fully funding our school systems, so people have access to kids have access to the education that they need. We also have a very abysmal minimum wage, still $7.25 an hour. And we have to make sure that we raise that. But more importantly, creating more opportunities, pipelining individuals to different types of trades, and finding ways to reduce costs as it relates to education. And so there's a lot of opportunity here for us. But we know that we need someone who's not just going to fight and stand up against this Trump administration and MAGA extremism, but who's going to deliver a message, deliver a vision, not just for Wisconsin Democrats, but Democrats across the country.
Data centers has been a major topic in a number of states. You gave a rather long, precise answer to that. And some folks were bothered by it. Others said, you know what, this is not an easy issue. It's not just simply I'm for, I'm against. Explain to our audience your position on data centers and what you want to see in Wisconsin.
I appreciate that question. I want to be very clear. If a community doesn't want a data center, they shouldn't have to have a data center, and they shouldn't be forced to have a data center. And there are no and, ifs, or buts about that. What we're focusing on is how we can protect our communities, making sure that these data centers, they pay their way, they pay for the energy, they pay for the infrastructure. And when I become the next governor of the great state of Wisconsin, we're going to make sure that no Wisconsin taxpayer is paying one dime towards these energy and infrastructure costs. And unfortunately, my opponent, Congressman Tom Tiffany, he voted to give tax breaks, $70 billion in tax breaks to big tech companies across this country. He voted to fast track these tech companies to be able to steamroll communities throughout the state of Wisconsin without no state oversight. And so we need these state regulations moving forward, and it's important that we do that.
On that particular point, that's one of the things that I've looked at. When I see a lot of these tax breaks, and then when I hear the number of jobs created, I go, wait a minute, you're giving up a hell of a whole lot in tax breaks for 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, maybe 100 jobs.
When you think about, these big tech companies doing these, huge hyperscale data centers, like a lot of the jobs come on the front end, but not necessarily on the back end. And so if communities decide that they're going to have a data center, the builder, they're going to have to utilize union labor. But we're going to make sure they're paying their way moving forward. But I want to see community benefit agreements across this entire state. I want to make sure that, wherever they reside, that our entire state actually benefits, because we're all going to be affected in some type of way. And so if we can leverage this for our existing businesses, our entrepreneurs, our local units of government, as well as our school systems as well, we should be looking directly into that. And so we should be looking at how we can extract as much as possible from these data centers versus them extracting our most precious natural resources.
I often get this. White conservatives love to ask me, well, what have y'all gotten for your vote? And I always flip it to say, well, what have a lot of broke white folks gotten for their vote? Listen, you got farmers in Wisconsin. Donald Trump has destroyed the lives of many farmers with his tariffs. You got that particular issue there. Also, it's a lot of poor whites in America, in your state, who depend on the Affordable Care Act, who depend on SNAP, who depend on these different things. Are you willing to go to them and look them dead in their eye and say, hey, you've been voting against your own economic interest. You really should pay attention to what we Democrats are doing to try to help you live a better life?
As I've traveled across this state, whether it's a small rural community, mid-sized suburban community, or large urban communities like I represent, we are all facing the same issues. It's the affordability crisis, being able to afford groceries to put on your table, being able to afford a home that you can rest in every single night, or being able to afford healthcare and childcare, which quite frankly is either expensive or not accessible. And so we've learned that there's a lot of people who have a lot of hope because we've won this primary election. They're excited. We have this momentum, and we're not going to leave no stone unturned. And as I talk to farmers, they know that Donald Trump is to blame as it relates to their workforce, their increase in prices for them because of this war of choice with Iran and how they've seen not just their tariffs rise, but gas prices rising as well. And so we have to take advantage of this opportunity. And as the next governor, we're going to make sure that we not only lower costs, but we put more money in the pockets of families all across this state.
Questions from my panel. First, Dr. Mustafa Santiago Ali, former senior advisor for environmental justice at the EPA.
Brother Crowley, it's good to see you. Good luck with everything. My question is, I know Wisconsin fairly well. You have an opportunity to build 21st century infrastructure, and I heard you just mention that rural and folks in urban centers have some similar concerns. If you're governor, what does a 21st century infrastructure look like in Wisconsin?
That 21st century infrastructure means that we are no longer leaving anyone behind. We don't want zip codes to determine futures here in the state of Wisconsin. So we're going to focus on making sure that when the tide rises, all the boats rise. I come from an organizing background. I was always told if you don't have a seat at the table, you're on the menu. In our schools, our students, farmers, rural communities, older adults, they all feel like they've been on the menu, and especially people of color that I represent. And so it's about making sure that we lend their voices to the solutions that's going to work for them. There isn't a one-size-fits-all solution. What works in my community may not work in a La Crosse, may not work in a Superior, but it doesn't mean that we can't make sure that those individuals lean their voices to the solutions that work for them. And so it's not about building this on my own. No governor, no one entity is going to be able to do that. It's about how do we bring others to the table and continue to empower our state so our state moves forward just like our motto says.
Lisa Durden, social justice journalist out of Newark, New Jersey. Your question for David Crowley.
Ooh, Mr. Crowley, this election made me dizzy. In, out. So a few things, a couple of quick things. I understand that polling is putting you in front of Tiffany, and I love that you're leading in both the independent area of voters and the battleground individuals. So that's cool, but in house and ever, the Southerners say house and ever, but in house and ever, I don't trust polls. They can flip on your ass. So I wanted to know.
I know.
I know. So who's on first, what's on second? So I wanted to know, I understand that you have to run like hell. You've got to run like hell. But speaking about voting against your own interests, I don't know what you're going to do to get the voters to understand that their stomachs are about to be empty if Tiffany gets in that office. So what are you going to do to impart on the potential voters, don't vote against your own interests? What are you going to do on the campaign trail to inspire, incite, or to create energy around this vote's important? Because as you know, Democrats, people are a little disenfranchised with Democrats and Republicans, to say the least. So I just am looking for what your plan is.
One, you have to meet people exactly where they are and make sure that they're a part of this process. As a county executive in this race, I'm the only one who's gotten anything done, right? In Milwaukee County, we have the lowest unsheltered homeless count per capita than any community in the entire United States. We've lowered overdose deaths by 40% in just 4 short years. And we've cut taxes, the largest property tax cut in our community's history, while bringing people across the political spectrum to not only benefit Milwaukee County, but every single municipality. And our job is to make sure that they understand, Tom Tiffany's record. He is a MAGA extremist who has served in Congress and has done nothing but be a lapdog to Donald Trump. He's the only person that I know here in the state of Wisconsin who's voted with Donald Trump 100% of the time. And so he is not focused on actually having a backbone and standing up and fighting for his own district. He's only going to do what he's told. And right now, whether you're on the far left or the far right or anywhere in between, we all know that government isn't working, and we need a governor who's going to bring folks to the table. And that's why I'm excited to be in this race. It's giving us a lot of opportunity to not only speak directly to the issues, but bring others to the table to join the movement that we've created.
Nice. I appreciate that.
Joe Richardson, civil rights attorney out of LA.
How are you, sir? Good to see you. Listen, talk a bit about, the idea you were out of the race for a period of time and then you're back in the race. You win by a nose. I want you to talk a little bit about two things, about the momentum that it suggests, and then related to that, how you bring the DSA folks along, right? You didn't beat a slouch that got no votes. You beat somebody that got a lot of votes, and it's enough votes to really make a difference. You're going to need those votes to get over the line. Talk about how you use that momentum to connect the dots and bring DSA or whoever didn't vote for you along.
I really appreciate that question. One of the first things that we did right after the primaries, we did a unity tour. And so all of the primary gubernatorial candidates on the Democratic side, we had breakfast, and we all committed to supporting myself as the nominee. But as we've traveled, I had the opportunity to learn that, some of those same folks that you mentioned, they have a lot of hope. They have a lot of passion. And they're committed to the state of Wisconsin. And you know what? I share that same passion. And we ultimately understand that our goal is to make sure that MAGA extremism isn't taking hold in this state. And the only way to defeat that is by defeating Tom Tiffany moving forward. And so as we build this big tent, our job is to make sure that we don't lose focus on what the goal is and continue to speak directly to the values of Wisconsinites all over.
Last question for you, and that is, when Mandela Barnes ran for United States Senate, he lost by a very small margin. There was a 50,000 vote drop-off in Milwaukee from the previous election. I have been saying on this show that where African Americans are, we need to be voting at a minimum of 70% or higher in order to offset turnout elsewhere. Are you making it clear to your campaign aides, to your strategists, to your media buyers, that there has to be a significant investment in black voters to turn out there in Milwaukee, black-owned media, and others if you are going to win?
Look, I am an absolute son of the city of Milwaukee and Milwaukee County. I grew up as an organizer, and this entire community, saved my life and helped me grow up to be where I am today. And there's no way that we're going to move in this campaign and not include the black community in some type of capacity. I mean, it is the foundation of who I am, and it's one of the reasons why I'm a public servant to this day. And so we are very intentional in not just focusing on black media, but focusing on all media, right? I'm not trying to be the governor of just Milwaukee or southeastern Wisconsin. I want to be a governor of all of us. But in order to do that, we can't leave no stone unturned. We're not going to allow anybody to fall through the cracks, and we're going to make sure that everybody has a seat at the table, including the black community. And so it's been really exciting to see the level of momentum that we've had here locally, because when I think about becoming the first African-American elected as Milwaukee County executive, you can imagine the black community absolutely showed up.
All right. David Crowley, we surely appreciate it, and I'm quite sure we're going to be on the road a lot of different places in September and October, so we probably be crossing paths.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Thanks a lot. Folks, got to go to a break. We'll be right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered, right here on the Black Star Network. All right, folks, let me get personal for a second. My mom had questions about her Medicare, so she called Chapter, a Medicare advisory company, and she texted me right after saying it's a great benefit. It was easy. A real person walked her through the whole thing, and now she understands better what's going on. But it's not just her. A woman in Yonkers wrote in saying the process was so simple, the enrollment was easy, and she was so glad she called. Then there's Marilyn, 90 years old, in Florida, living on Social Security. Her premium climbed every single year north of $400 a month for coverage she could barely afford anymore. So what does she do? She called Chapter. They found her the same top-tier coverage for hundreds of dollars less. 90 years old, and finally somebody in her corner. I hear stories like that again and again from our community. The Medicare system was not built to work for you. Too much fine print, too many plans. Yet Chapter's advisors are independent and honest, the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide. They're focused on one thing, what actually works for you. If you're already in the right plan, they'll tell you. No games, and people who switch to a chapter saved an average of $1,100 a year. All it takes is 20 minutes. You talk to a real person, and it's completely free help. So call Chapter at 724-264-8281, 724-264-8281. That's Chapter.
I don't know about you, but I find it interesting that so many people think they know black men so well. How we feel, what we think, what we want, why we do what we do. Hell, they even told us why we vote and why we didn't vote, but never asked us what our aspirations were, what scared us, what pisses us off, what we live for, how we live. That's what this show is. No translation, because we don't need anybody speaking for us, but we do need to speak for ourselves. This is not a traditional election show. And we don't need to speak through other people's lens. It's no translation. Right here on the Black Star Network. Join us.
What's up? It's Talib Kweli. I'm CEO. This is the Black Star Network.
In North Carolina, Governor Josh Stein has vetoed Republican House Bill 958 and urged North Carolinians to call on the legislators to uphold the veto. He stamped the veto during a Protect Our Vote event at the Executive Mansion. The bill would eliminate a week of early voting in primary elections and allows challenges to early vote ballots up to 3 days after an election. Yeah. It also expands the State Board of Elections tools to purge voter rolls and the state auditor's role in local election administration. Now, y'all got to keep in mind, what Republicans did was they took the power of the Board of Elections away from the governor, and they skipped the lieutenant governor, Democrat. They skipped the Secretary of State, Democrat, and they give it to the state auditor, who's a Republican. Yeah, that's what they do. Here's Stein talking about the bill.
They know they are more focused on giving tax breaks to the wealthy and to out-of-state corporate shareholders than putting more money into your pockets. They know they haven't raised the minimum wage in 17 years. And they know they've focused on culture wars that divide and distract us from how little progress they have made. So rather than to make your life better, they want to make it harder for you to hold them accountable for their failures. But we are here today because we can stop this anti-voter law. Here's what's wrong with the bill. They make it harder to vote early. They're slicing a full week off of early voting in the primary. About 200,000 North Carolinians voted in the first week of early voting this year. And if you vote early in the general elections, this bill makes it easier for partisan officials to throw out your vote for up to 3 days after the election is over. More than 4 million North Carolinians voted early in 2024. It is far and away the most popular way that folks vote in our general election. Who here has voted early? So if you are lawfully registered, show your ID and vote early, some sore loser could still try to throw it out after the election is over. Your leaders should respect your vote, not restrict it.
Earlier today, Bishop William Barber and other members of the clergy and moral activists gathered outside of the North Carolina State Legislative Building to protest and speak out against House Bill 958. This is what Barber had to say.
Dust matters. We have been made from the dust. And we will not allow, that means everybody matters.
That's right.
It is shameful that this legislature, the leadership, would put the governor in the position to have to veto. You have to cast a veto vote to try to protect people's right to vote. It makes no sense.
No sense.
But we have to do more than talk, and more than pray, and more than believe. We have to put legs on our prayers, and we have to put action on our declarations. 100 days, 1,000 marches to the polls. Watch this. First day of early voting. We want the media to understand. We're calling that on that first day of early voting, we want you to have to report breaking news. There are people marching, multiple in Wilmington, North Carolina. Wait a minute, we just got a report. It's happening in Raleigh. Wait a minute, we just got a report. It's happening in Little Washington. Wait a minute, we just got a report. It's happening in Salisbury. This is a moment that all of us can grab.
That's right.
Last two things. Some have said they're going to have ICE agents watching and federal agents watching. Well, come watch us walk.
All right.
Come watch us march. Come watch us be unafraid. That's another reason that we're coming together. We're not going to face this authoritarianism alone.
That's right.
We will face it together.
Yes, sir.
And then finally, for members of the media, we'll take questions after this. But here is what is supposed to be happening. They're not the words of William Barber or Nancy Petty or Reverend Frank or Wayne or Reverend Hannah or Rabbi Sandra or Reverend William. They are the words of folk that came long before us.
That's right.
Who came out of the craziness of slavery and injustice. And black and white, they decided to write a new constitution.
That's right.
There were preachers in that midst, and they decided to write. And here's what they wrote that should be the only thing we do when it comes to voting.
Yes, sir.
It is found in the first articles of our Constitution in this state, penned back in the 1860s. Only a citizen
That's right.
of these United States, born or naturalized, who is 18 years of age and possessing the qualifications set out in this article, shall be entitled to vote
That's right.
at any election by the people of the state. The greatest injustice, the greatest sin, Nancy, of this legislature, the greatest unconstitutional act is that they have forgotten the elections don't belong to them.
That's right. That's right.
The elections don't belong to politicians. The elections don't belong to the speaker. They don't belong to the Senate pro tem leader. They don't belong to whoever happens to majority. In the Constitution of this state, the wisdom of black and white fusionist politicians coming up out of the vestiges of slavery, they declared elections belong to the people. Period. And anything that attempts to block and suppress the people's election, when a few hundred people try to block millions,
That's right.
it is unconstitutional. It is sin. Morally indefensible.
That's right.
Constitutionally inconsistent. And when you look at the policies that get passed because of this foolishness, economically insane.
That's right.
And we will meet this moment because we want our elections back.
That's right. That's right.
Yes, sir.
That's right.
So we will march.
Yes, sir.
So we will walk.
Yes, sir.
So we will drive.
Yes, sir.
So we will be on the sidewalks. We will be on the streets. We will leave our churches. We will leave our synagogues. We will leave our mosques. We will leave our lodges. We will leave our fraternal place. We will leave our college campuses. And we will, in our workplaces, our labor unions, And we will put on the most massive mobilization of recent years because we want our elections back.
That's right.
Of course, could attempt to override the veto. Stein is urging them to do so. And he wants North Carolinians to contact their state reps to uphold his veto decision. The problem that we're seeing here, Joe, is that it's in narrow margins. And you've got 3 Democrats who lost their primary who are pissed off, and they may side with the Republicans.
Yeah, this is an interesting situation. As you know, Dr. Barber is the reason Governor Cooper got elected. The things that he did to drive out the vote and to really appeal to the morality of people. And North Carolina is very much a bellwether for the fact that states and areas are changing and evolving. And so a lot of the time, the Democrats end up being successful at the top of the ticket. And of course, the Republicans want to undo that, even though the demographic isn't going in their direction. Their next strategy, of course, is the strategy in Texas and all of these other places where you keep less people from voting. And an irony here, they want to give you less time to vote early, but give you more time to protest somebody's early vote. All the way back, all the way over to 3 days after the election. And so hopefully this is something that even the Democrats that are a little disaffected about losing their election. See, sometimes, listen, with close elections, you're going to win some of them and you're going to lose some of them. This whole thing is driven by turnout, okay? You don't want the opportunity for there to be a few votes that are siphoned off, a few things that are purged that end up making the difference in a close election. Hopefully, they see the larger view, take the larger and the longer view, that this is where we need to go. This is the best thing for the health of the country and certainly the best thing for the health of the state. I appreciate Dr. Barber always standing in the gap, repairs of the breach, doing what needs to be done. And North Carolina can continue to make its future by having as many people vote as they can so that the will of the people is done at the poll.
Republicans, at least, have been pissed off since Obama won North Carolina in 2008. And they have done all they can to undermine the vote in that state since then.
I never thought I would live long enough to see fascism at this level. I mean, it's never ended, but I thought, okay, we're moving in an upward direction from the 1960s civil rights movement and on and on and on and on. And my eyeballs continue to pop out of my 4 eyeballs, the 2 pairs that I'm wearing, and the ones I was born with pops out, and I'm thinking another thing. So I just have to say, I'm thankful for people like Dr. Barber, because if we don't have people standing in the gap and they're not on it like that, we are in double trouble. We really have to, the phrase stop the steal, we have to stop the steal. I don't understand how people are so complacent with it. Not just people who vote, but just everybody's just complacent, in particular now. I'm glad the governor is trying to make sure that people aren't jacking their vote. Voters have a right to vote early. We don't want things rolled back. So, because I'm thinking to myself, how can you just do this in plain sight? And over again, when I see these kinds of things trying to be enacted and they're trying to pass these kind of, Gestapo laws, I look at this as, wow, they're doing this in plain sight. Do they think we're fools? You all are acting with impunity because they know who gonna check me, boo? That's exactly what they know. So when you have people who are fearless like Dr. Barber, when you have people who are fearless like the governor, when you have people who are fearless who are going to come out in droves and vote not just their conscience, but vote their what's right. We know we can stop them, but it's not as simple as we just can't go, oh, well, no, we have to get on top of this. So the unmitigated gall and the unfettered actions is just disgusting. So I just hope we fire off on all cylinders from everywhere and we get out there. I want the vision. Remember when Obama ran the first time? I want to see that vision. We saw helicopters where people were lines around the corner. People had head rags on and scarves and slippers, babies in their hand, cups of coffee. I want to see that kind of election day right now in this time for November, because it's going to take that kind of, electorate and voters to make this happen. We have to overdo it. We have to overrun the race in order to win it. We really have to get out there and go hard in the paint, as they call it.
Mustafa.
And I'm looking forward to that.
Mustafa.
I mean, folks just got to be courageous, right? We continue to lean on Reverend Barber and others who we give the title, and rightly so. They've done the work as a leader in this space. Each individual, every person is a leader, and you just have to decide if you're going to finally step up or if you're just going to wait to see how everything plays out. There's a huge amount of energy that goes into voter suppression. In the last 4 years, there have been over 1,500 bills introduced across our country to either stop you from being able to register or to kick you off the voter rolls or to be able to cast the ballot. 79 of those actually became law. So you should ask yourself, do these folks really have this much energy to be able to invest in stopping people from being able to vote, and not the energy to be able to invest in figuring out how to feed people, how to make sure everybody has a home, making sure that there's nobody who's unhoused, making sure that everybody has a job with a livable wage? All those things should actually motivate you to make sure that there are individuals who are finally in these spaces who care about you and are willing to do the work. So if we sit home, if we sit on the couch, if you sit on your butt, then you can't blame anybody else for what transpires.
Well, speaking of that, listen, it is primary day in several states. You've got Florida primaries. You've got the governor's race, the U.S. Senate race. You got those key congressional races. So we're watching that. You've got Alaska, Wyoming as well. Really paying attention to Alaska because Mary Patola, she's running. And she's running against an incumbent Republican. And there's a guy in the race who has the same last name, Dan Sullivan, different middle initials. And so that could cause some confusion there. But it really is, I think, let's pay a lot of attention, Lisa, to what's happening in Florida, because you've got, of course, Byron Donalds, supported by Donald Trump, leading in that race. You got former Republican David Jolly, who is running on the Democratic side, and he is running against Dodie Joseph. And so we're watching that race, as well as Dana Marie Foster, two African Americans. So we're watching that. He is expected to win. Then, of course, you've got the U.S. Senate race, Alex Vindman versus Angie Nixon. So there's a lot going on. And then, of course, you have the congressional races, Chevron Jones running for the seat with Frederica Wilson. Then, of course, you got the other seat, the other black seat, where David Wasserman Schultz chose to run in that election. And the black candidates opted not to drop out. There are 3 or 4 black candidates, and they met several times to say, hey, we should only have one run. Nah, all of them are running, and you might end up what happened in Memphis when a bunch of black people ran, and Steve Cohen was able to win because the black folks canceled each other out.
I'm not sure if this makes any sense, but people say, a run for this person is a win for that person. I'm of the mind, we have to challenge. You must run. So you should. It's indicative of these races where one person jumped out of the race and then jumped back in the race. I ran for office before. I ran for lieutenant governor before on the Green Party many years ago. And people said to me, oh, you're taking a vote from this person and that person. But if we didn't run and challenge that election, it would have been a walk-on. I am all for it. So I'm just hoping that, these individuals stay in the race, they go hard in the paint, and they do their best, because there was an election in Newark, a lady named Donna Jackson. She didn't have no money. She didn't have no flyers. She didn't have no people. She didn't have no Roger, no rerun, no rent. But since she challenged the usual folks, because of that, she won a Newark, city of Newark race, but she didn't feel like, I'm not going to win and, I can't challenge it. We have to keep doing that to move the needle. That's the same thing with these democratic socialists. If they don't get in the race, we're not going to turn the tides. So I say continue to run so that we can make the difference. Somebody's getting in there. It's not always about money and who you are and status. It's about just getting in the race. I'm a former track runner, so my track references.
The thing here...
somebody might drop the baton. That's the point. Somebody's going to drop the baton.
One of the things we're watching, one of the things we're paying attention to there, specifically in Florida, Joe, turnout. Democrats have been losing in that state. They're in disrepair. Nikki Fried has been trying to rebuild the party in the last several years. And so turnout, that's one of the things we should be looking at tonight. How hyped are Democrats there to vote in the primary?
And, it wasn't long ago where our dear brother, who's struggling now, our prayers are with him, came very, very close to becoming governor. So the numbers are there to affect a change. One of the big suggestions that happens, and we talked about it quite a bit, in the South is that because Republicans win so often, it's because that they have the numbers and therefore we shouldn't be hopeful. There are a whole lot of black folk. There are a whole lot of votes to mine, M-I-N-E, of people that don't turn out either because they're not hopeful or whatever else. And that's to say nothing of, some of these laws that are coming into play where they try to restrict and restrict people that are the recently incarcerated or convicted and those types of things. But hopefully they can reconnect to the momentum that let folks understand that Florida was changing. I think Florida still is changing, just like Alabama is, just like Mississippi is, just like Texas is. The question becomes, can we have an overwhelming turnout to show that despite your attempts to siphon off and to purge and all of these other things, we are still marching towards being a different state than we were just because of the numbers. And hopefully our dear brother who's been running the party down there and been putting forth those efforts will see some of that come to fruition even tonight.
Mustafa?
I mean, this is just one of those moments, right? You still got to work incredibly hard to get people's vote. A lot of folks are disillusioned. A lot of folks don't believe that it makes a difference, no matter how much pain they continue to experience, both themselves and in their families and inside of their communities. And a lot of it has to deal with that people don't truly believe that they have power. So if you don't think that you have power, then you think that your vote doesn't have power. And if you think your vote doesn't have power, then you don't show up. And so therefore, you give away all those resources that should be coming to your community to others who probably will not have the best interest of your community at heart. So one of the things is really helping people to understand, as we've talked about on the show before, the power of your vote. But not just the power of your vote, but how it is transformative. And a lot of times people don't do the work that's necessary to help folks to have an understanding of what that looks like. So we continue to educate. We continue to try to motivate folks, but at the end of the day, people are going to have to determine when they've had enough and when they're willing to make sure that there's real change that happens.
All right, folks, let's go to a break. We'll be right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Don't forget to support the work that we do. John Breen, the Funk Fan Club, goes to get 20,000 of our fans contributing on average $50 each a year. That's $4.19 a month, 13 cents a day. If you want to do so via Cash App, use a Stripe QR code. You see it right here. As for credit cards as well, checks and money order, make it payable. Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. PayPal, R. Martin Unfiltered. Venmo, RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Back in a moment. All right, folks, let me get personal for a second. My mom had questions about her Medicare, so she called Chapter, a Medicare advisory company, and she texted me right after saying it's a great benefit. It was easy. A real person walked her through the whole thing, and now she understands better what's going on. But it's not just her. A woman in Yonkers wrote in saying the process was so simple, the enrollment was easy, and she was so glad she called. Then there's Marilyn, 90 years old, in Florida, living on Social Security. Her premium climbed every single year north of $400 a month for coverage she could barely afford anymore. So what does she do? She called Chapter. They found her the same top-tier coverage for hundreds of dollars less. 90 years old, and finally somebody in her corner. I hear stories like that again and again from our community. The Medicare system was not built to work for you. Too much fine print, too many plans. Yet Chapter's advisors are independent and honest, the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide. They're focused on one thing, what actually works for you. If you're already in the right plan, they'll tell you. No games. And people who switched with Chapter saved an average of $1,100 a year. All it takes is 20 minutes. You talk to a real person, and it's completely free help. So call Chapter at 724-264-8281, 724-264-8281. That's Chapter.
I don't know about you, but I find it interesting that so many people think they know black men so well. How we feel, what we think, what we want, why we do what we do. Hell, they even told us why we vote and why we didn't vote, but never asked us what our aspirations were, what scared us, what pisses us off, what we live for, how we live. That's what this show is. No translation, because we don't need anybody speaking for us, but we do need to speak for ourselves. This is not a traditional election show. And we don't need to speak through other people's lens. It's no translation. Right here on the Black Star Network. Join us.
My name is Bill Duke, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Well, folks, ABC finally decided to start fighting Donald Trump. They filed a First Amendment lawsuit against the Federal Communications Commission. The suit claims that his investigations and regulatory actions are part of Donald Trump's retaliatory campaign to curb the network's free speech. The lawsuit filed in the U.S. District Court in D.C. also seeking to halt a proceeding in which the agency and its chairman, Brendan Carr, demanded that the network put its 8 stations up for early license renewal. That followed Donald Trump's attacks on the network, including its nighttime host, Jimmy Kimmel. The lawsuit is heavy in references to Donald Trump's attacks on ABC and calls for it to lose its licenses, including its complaints over the way that ABC News moderated the 2024 presidential debate during an attack on a news reporter who asked about releasing the Jeffrey Epstein files, and in a Truth Social post in which the president complained about late-night shows being 100% negative against him. The network's legal team said the FCC's actions violated its free speech rights, and they want a judge to step in. Joe, I'm going to start with you. ABC paid us $16 million to settle a lawsuit Donald Trump levied against George Stephanopoulos. Every lawyer said it was BS. But I guess Disney thought, you know what, let's pay them the money, and maybe that's going to curtail a tax on this. Nope.
Sure didn't. And really, to be honest with you, they should have done this a long time ago. They're seeking a TRO, preliminary injunction, as they should be. Now, you know, skim the complaint a little bit, drastic times, call for drastic actions. This complaint has the potential to be groundbreaking in some ways. But if you look at actually what's happening, a lot of these stations weren't up for renewal till 2028. The FCC basically says, in a really pretextual, well, let's put them back up for now, which in a best case scenario means they pay a whole lot of money over several years to fight this thing and to get from point A to point B and to be renewed, or they don't get renewed, but they move up dealing with the question, okay? So this really should let everybody know that when it comes to this administrative related stuff, you have got to fight. You can't just keel over, as it were, because FCC basically just kept coming, and so that little $16 million wasn't enough, and the things that they actually said, the things that they actually threatened. I mean, Donald Trump talked out loud about wanting to have these stations' licenses undone. He talked out loud about it. What else is there to do in that situation but fight? They tell us certain animals, they can kill you, but they, if they have a way of escape, that's what they'll do. But when they're against the wall and they know they're against the wall, what they do is they fight. And you have a problem at that point. And so really what ABC should have realized is that it's been against the wall for a long time. I guess better late than never, but hopefully they stay at it, because if they fight and the next place fights and the next place fights and the next place fights, the Trump administration is not particularly good at fighting a 10-front war. They're not particularly good at it because, among other things, they aren't the smartest and they aren't the most competent. So put that to the test and go where you need to go, because the republic is at stake. First Amendment rights are at stake. A free press is at stake. We have to do these things, and I'm glad they're finally doing it.
You know, the thing that jumps out here, Mustafa, you can't play footsie with this dictator. And all of these different people thought, oh, well, if we just throw him some cash. No, he's so brazen, he's going to demand more. He is an absolute extortionist.
Mm-hmm. Well, they got their pimp game on, and people just got to understand the dynamics that are truly playing out in front of you. So first of all, people hear me talk about this all over the country. Stop funding your own oppression. So when you pay off, these deals that these folks try and put in place, then you continue to fund your own oppression. You continue to put the blood in the water. The sharks are going to come. When you have bullies, and these folks are bullies, right? I've worked for a number of administrations, never seen anything like this. They're going to continue to punk you. Whether you are a multi-million-dollar conglomerate or you're somebody who's a little bit further down the food chain, they are going to continue to push you. They're going to continue to punch you. They're going to continue to do these things because most folks won't stand up and push back. My daddy used to say he could always tell if somebody had a strong spine, because no matter what came at them, they were going to continue to stand up based upon what their values and priorities are and not be moved. But unfortunately, we've had folks who've done this. So when you have these folks who continue to try and censor, let's say that word again, to censor what's being shared because it is not a part of their ideology, then they continue to try and utilize both the courts where they continue to lose. It just takes a long time. And they continue to try and extort people, as you just shared. So stop funding your oppression, stop going down on your knees, and stand up for what you believe in.
Yeah, pure, simple as that, Lisa. And the bottom line is, you got to fight. This man is a thug. He has no bottom, none, zero, zilch. And so you got to swing on his ass.
Yep. It's funny. Listen, last time I checked, everybody knows you don't pay the ransom money. You don't pay. Because they think we're going to keep digging. I'm going to reach down in your purse to pay your way and your homeboy's way. Come on, stop paying that. And my mother is from the South, and she would always get mad when I tried to stand up. I had to evict tenants. And when I'm there, I'm waiting for them to close the door. She says, you better get off that porch. Those tenants could have a gun. I said, I might have a gun. So here's what we're about to do. I'm about to test that ass. She was scared. I can't fight, but I want to see, can you fight? That's the problem. So I was like, woo, about time ABC, put their big girl, boy panties on and said, let me go out swinging. Somebody's got to have brass balls to fight and battle Trump. These Gestapo tactics is silencing media. All, establishment media, don't you have a bunch of lawyers? So I just hope and pray, as they say, that ABC's lawsuit against them for the FCC retaliatory campaign to lock down on the right to free speech for everybody makes other people like a domino effect say, oh, okay, if ABC can stand up and they can go out swinging and getting in the ring, let me do the same. I think this is going to be the beginning of all of that, because after a while, when you press Donald Trump against the wall, he just falls to the ground. He thinks, let me see if I can punk you. And that's exactly what has been happening. People have been getting punked literally. And I'm sick of it. It's disgusting.
Again, you can play the game. You can go ahead and think.
Yeah.
You can pay him off. You can think that,
Don't
he's not going to treat me that way. I mean, he's shown exactly who he is. Here's a perfect example for me of what happened. So, it's been all this talk about this woman, Natalie, who works for Trump, writes his tweets. She's always around, always by his side. So Georgia Senator John Ossoff took a dig at her and Trump. Yo, watch out, check this out.
I've got 2 little girls at home. Eva's 4 and Lila's 1, and I'm so grateful to this country for the security and the opportunity it affords them. But this isn't the world I want to leave them. Soon enough, they'll learn there's now plastic in human blood and breast milk. That toxic forever chemicals are in half the country's drinking water. Eva loves animal documentaries, and she'll learn that the butterflies are dying off. She'll ask me why I allowed these things to happen. She'll learn about the nuclear weapons that still threaten annihilation. And when you step back and consider it, the situation is absurd. Tech titans dig bunkers and warn us the new intelligence they're training could lead to mass joblessness or human extinction, and our Congress debates ballrooms and youth sports. We've amassed enough firepower to end the world 1,000 times over, but we can't summon the will to guarantee health care and pre-K. I say all this to say that it's the crushing weakness of our politics against the unmet needs of our people and the massive stakes of our times that's shaking our faith in the future. But Atlanta, I refuse to leave my girls a world as dark and dangerous and cruel as this one threatens to become. See, when Eva... When Eva's old enough to ask me why I'd let this happen, I'm determined to answer truthfully that I didn't. I'll tell her how the same year she turned 5, Georgia stood up all together, all at once, and said, "Enough is enough."
One of the things that I like, again, you take the shot and you call him exactly who he is, and Fox News took note of that, and they were like, okay. And they were like, well, you know, and of course, Laura Ingraham, she wasn't too particularly happy, but I don't know why they all upset. Donald Trump, all he ever does is trash as well. And so, again, you treat him exactly who he is, the thug that he is. To me, that's what you should always do. Well, stop. These folk got to learn how to fight. These folk got to, listen, ain't no rules when it comes to this fool. You got to hit him with every damn thing.
Well, first of all, we hit him with the truth, right? Because the truth is definitely going to hurt, because it highlights the fact that they have done nothing for this country to help it to heal, to help it to be safer, to help it to be more prosperous for the majority of folks. So, you know, those are facts. So when you can't deal with the facts, then you bring all this other ancillary stuff into the conversation and try to take people off of what they need to be focused upon. And that's the reality of the situation. The other part of it is that I don't know where these folks grew up. I never understood folks allowing a bully to punk you. I wasn't the biggest kid growing up, but I guarantee you one thing, no matter what I had to do to make sure you understood that if you put your hands on me, you put your hands on my family, you hurt somebody inside of my community, then we're going to have a problem. And I don't understand why folks are not willing. You know, what Senator Ossoff just talked about really should motivate you in the fact that how do you look your children in the eyes? How do you look the elders in your community in the eyes? How do you look your community in the eyes when you're not willing to do anything to help to protect them? Especially for folks that all those folks have helped to raise you up, to help you to have a foundation underneath of you. And then you're just going to allow somebody to come in and just do whatever they want inside of your community. It makes no sense to me. You might lose. But I guarantee you one thing, if you throw them up enough times, the person will think twice before they come at you again.
Indeed. I had this other clip. Lisa, check this out.
Remember, he promised to lower prices on day one. You remember that? And I want the president's remaining supporters to hear this, because it was all a lie. Under Donald J. Trump, it costs more than ever to stock your fridge, to power your home, to make a cup of coffee, to buy school supplies for your kid or a tractor for your farm. Gas is up 30% since inauguration. Diesel 47, coffee 35, ground beef 23%. They doubled your health insurance premiums and slashed Medicaid to cut taxes for their corporate donors and the ultra-rich. They made you pay more for everything and took us to war on lies and spent most of last year trying to cover up for the world's most famous pedophile while the crook president and his crook family raked in billions.
Now, where I come from, Joe, that's called checkmate.
Yeah, bringing it. Mic drop, bringing all of it. But what's so funny is, just like Mustafa just said, he's telling the truth. He's actually telling the truth. He didn't have to create. He didn't have to extend the truth. He didn't have to tell something that deserves context. Prices are up. Okay? Prices are way up. And really, when it comes down to it, not standing up. Starting off, even Republicans with their own party, they had many chances to beat him back, as it were. Made him bigger, made MAGA extremism bigger, made all of this stuff bigger than it had to be. But it was built on a foundation of lies, a foundation of untruth, a foundation of dishonesty, lack of integrity, etc. And it's interesting to watch how people twist up in pretzels to say that they believe in integrity and they believe in truth and honesty, but they still are on this Trump train. But the train is it's going off the tracks big time. And I'd laugh about it, except we all paying more money. It's going to take a whole long time to fix all of this. But it's going to take more truth tellers like John Ossoff to put it where it really is and say, this is what's happening and this is what's going on. And hopefully the people of Georgia, in his case, are listening to it. I think he looks fairly good as it pertains to the polls and gives you a sense for how far he's actually come because all that time ago they said that he couldn't win. And so hopefully we continue to just have more truth tellers to continue to let us know. If people vote with the urgency that all of this mess has actually created, we will see quite a big change in Congress, quite a big.
Had an event with Senator Mark Kelly and his wife, former Congresswoman Gabby Giffords, where, let's just say, he didn't mince words when it came to draft dodging Donald Trump.
Because I don't think anything illustrates the times more aptly than that the draft dodging crook president who has plunged our nation recklessly into a war he knows not how to end or to win, tried to imprison this man who embodies American heroism, a decorated combat veteran, naval aviators, astronaut, space shuttle commander, U.S. Senator. Donald Trump tried to lock him up for daring to state in public a fundamental principle of military law. And you heard, I work closely with Mark. We sit together on the Intelligence Committee, and it's been a privilege to see how he has persevered despite these threats of imprisonment by his own government, dutifully serving his constituents in Arizona, dutifully seeing to the national security of all Americans, and not backing down for even a moment in the face of those threats. Thank you, Mark, for all you've done and for your courage.
Straight draft dodger. Straight. Yep. I mean, that man don't give a damn about the military. You got that USS leaking. He don't care about conditions on that ship. He said, oh, they should stay out longer. This man is an absolute sicko.
When I saw John Ossoff snapping in Philadelphia, they call it joning. In Newark, we call it hiking, doing the dozens. Y'all know the words. I was on the floor. The man should be a comedian. You know, he's pointing out everything we already know. There isn't anything we don't know about Donald Trump. We even saw Donald Trump in the debate with Kamala Harris saying, I have a concept of a plan. Even the MAGA folks didn't see any concepts. What are the balloons? What are the concepts? Did you list any concepts? But they're busy saying, well, you know, Kamala Harris, we don't know what she's about. What is she doing for men and blacks and women? But he's saying, I have no plan. So it just tells you how disgusting people are. When people say, oh, people are voting against their own best interests. No, they're not. All of the MAGA folks voted in their best interests. And what they're after is white supremacy. And you know how they say when you want to put somebody down in a ditch, you've got to be down in there in them? So people are so hateful. People are so racist. They'd rather starve themselves to make sure you starve. They'd rather run out of gas in their car to make sure your tank is empty. This is what the racism and the disgustingness is all about. The individualism is all about. So I'm liking that John is saying we're going to turn this tide down here where we are. We have to have more of the Johns, because if you have more of the Johns, it's going to be like the Wizard of Oz. You know, when they got to the end and you saw the wizard, he was so loud and mean. At the end, it was a little short man that was a punk. We have to expose Donald Trump once and for all. And these John Ossoffs and all of those other folks doing what they're doing, marching toward November, is going to do just that.
All right, folks, going to a quick break. We come back. I keep telling y'all, ain't nothing like a Fox News lie. Man, did they lie about gas prices. Wait till I show y'all next. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. All right, folks, let me get personal for a second. My mom had questions about her Medicare, so she called Chapter, a Medicare advisory company, and she texted me right after saying it's a great benefit. It was easy. A real person walked her through the whole thing, and now she understands better what's going on. But it's not just her. A woman in Yonkers wrote in saying the process was so simple, the enrollment was easy, and she was so glad she called. Then there's Marilyn, 90 years old, in Florida, living on Social Security. Her premium climbed every single year north of $400 a month for coverage she could barely afford anymore. So what does she do? She called Chapter. They found her the same top-tier coverage for hundreds of dollars less. 90 years old, and finally somebody in her corner. I hear stories like that again and again from our community. The Medicare system was not built to work for you. Too much fine print, too many plans. Yet Chapter's advisors are independent and honest, the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide. They're focused on one thing, what actually works for you. If you're already in the right plan, they'll tell you. No games. People who switched with Chapter saved an average of $1,100 a year. All it takes is 20 minutes. You talk to a real person, and it's completely free help. So call Chapter at 724-264-8281, 724-264-8281. That's Chapter.
I don't know about you, but I find it interesting that so many people think they know black men so well. How we feel, what we think, what we want, why we do what we do. Hell, they even told us why we vote and why we didn't vote, but never asked us what our aspirations were, what scared us, what pisses us off, what we live for, how we live. That's what this show is. No translation, because we don't need anybody speaking for us, but we do need to speak for ourselves. This is not a traditional election show. No. We don't need to speak through other people's lens. It's no translation. Right here on the Black Star Network. Join us.
I'm Ryan Wilson, CEO and co-founder of The Gathering Spot, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
All right, y'all, ain't nothing like another Fox News lie. For the longest, they called themselves fair and balanced. Bullshit. They weren't. They done all they could to lie for Donald Trump, to just cover for him. They keep saying the economy is great, it's wonderful, it's fantastic. They're all lying. Check this segment out on gas prices.
And before I toss back to you, yesterday we aired a graphic that showed gas prices incorrectly last year were $4.13 a gallon. They are in fact $3.13 a gallon. That's 90 cents more in the past year. The Trump administration says those gas prices will fall quickly once the operations in Iran ends. Now back to you.
Oh, I want y'all to roll it again.
Now, before I toss back to you, yesterday we aired a graphic that showed gas prices incorrectly last year were $4.13 a gallon. They are in fact $3.13 a gallon. That's 90 cents more in the past year. The Trump administration says those gas prices will fall quickly once the operations in Iran ends. Now back to you.
So, really? How hard is it? This is the graphic, y'all. It's right here. This is the graphic. You see, they tried to show a year ago, it's $4.13. Then it was like, actually, now it was like a lot lower. That's what they're doing, y'all. That's what they're doing. They lie. That's all they do is lie, y'all. This is nothing more, Mustafa, than state-run propaganda.
That's exactly what I was thinking, man. Oh, good gracious. If Octavia Butler was here with her dystopian novel, she would be having a field day and be known as the prophetess that she was. You know what's really interesting is, one, they expect that you can't count, because first he said $3.13, $4.13, 90 cents. I'm like, I know I went to public school, but I believe that that's $1. The other part of it is that all the people that I know, they don't use regular gasoline in their car, so they never talk about mid-grade and they don't talk about premium. And yeah, most folks can't afford that now, so they're going down and damaging their engine, so they don't talk to you about the additional cost that is going to be needed to be able to fix the engines, the additional upgrades you're going to need, all the various things that are in that space. And of course they lie because the policies are so terrible. The policies make no sense. Getting into a war made no sense. And people go to the grocery store, they see the prices, they feel the pain. When they go to the gas pump, they see the prices, they feel the pain. You know, and we can go down the laundry list of things that they have failed on because, one, the people that they put into the positions didn't have merit. And what I mean by merit is they had no experience. They had, no real world sets of lessons learned, but they put those people in. So, of course, you're going to have whack policy. You also put people into office who are out of touch with what everyday people are dealing with. So all of these things lead to the lie, lead to the misinformation and disinformation, because you have nothing to give the American public, because everything that you touch continues to get worse.
Yeah, in fact, Fox Business, I mean, it's a little hard. It's a little hard to lie about the numbers. They tried there. They got called out. They had to come corrected. Lisa, but listen to them. Check this one out.
The case I'm finding the problem is in the Strait of Hormuz, the whole oil thing. I'm feeling like we're losing clarity on what we're doing there. Okay, and maybe that's an understatement, but I do feel like we're losing some clarity there now. So I'm at the point, and you gave me this way of thinking about it last week, Dagan. I'm at the point where I do not want to hear anything about whether or not Iran wants to make a deal. I don't want to hear anything about how much control we have. I don't want to hear anything.
Said this last hour, as much as gas prices, anger voters.
I think he's a bit perturbed. I think he's a little upset. Because what he's saying is like, damn, can y'all stop lying to us? Just be quiet.
I guess he's a bit peeved. He says, I don't want to hear anything. I don't want to hear anything. We want to hear something. The truth. So I feel like people like him bank on individuals, I guess, thinking that they were born last night, not at night. So, they can just talk in circles and think that they're like, the emperor has on no clothes. We see that you're naked. Everybody knows what's going on. So I'm not for sure what goal he's trying to achieve with the ongoing, verbal masturbation, if you call it. So I don't know what it's going to take for individuals, like we said earlier in the show, to not be able to afford eggs, not be able to afford your gas, not be able to afford premium gas. I have a car, I have to put premium gas in, and not be able to afford to get on the train is $7 for one train ride. I'm over exaggerating. What is it going to take for them to see and know this is bullshit? This is a lie. This is not happening. What are you about to do? It goes back to voting. The only way that I know people have learned their lesson, if you will, is at the polls. Because I'm thinking, didn't you learn in 2016? Didn't you learn then? You didn't learn then? So I'm not for sure what the whole the issue is with loving Fox News and standing by their lies. They're not really news, because we see the outcomes for that population, and the audience is still glomming on to, oh yes, but they're right. They don't do their own. It's just not even homework. You just look around and you see right there in front of you. It's like snowflakes coming down. It's banging you in the head, a snowflake at a time. Don't you see? I'm going to go back to, they do see. They want to make sure that the least of us is lower than them. As long as Black folks and people of color are beneath them, they don't mind the suffrage. I think that they know. They want to make sure we're suffering better than them. And you can't make me suffer unless you're doing a little suffering. I see no other answer other than that. It's ridiculous.
Joe, I'm going to play one more for you, because, again, I know they got to be going, like, damn, listen, we can't just lie when the jobs report comes out, when the bond market, they're like, listen, we see, they can try to fudge, but doesn't always work. Listen.
Well, and unfortunately, we have more ground to go, because if you look at real wages after you account for inflation, everyday Americans' paychecks aren't keeping up with the price increases still, and that's a problem. Because
you think?
You know, it's a cold game when the math ain't mathing. And, you know, Bible says all things work together for good. And people are going through some very, very tough times right now. And I'm hoping that the good, or that the silver lining, is that it is drastic enough where people show up and vote, and they don't take what's being said at face value. There's no midway. There's no gray area around this. We don't have time for folks that are lying. I know how much more money I'm spending for gas. I know how much more money I'm spending for beef. I know how much more money I'm spending for fill in the blank, whatever it is that it might be. We are dealing with this reality on a day-to-day basis, and hopefully people's reality speaks louder than these lies, and even this notion that some people sit and watch this and they want to go along, you know, because they bought into these culture wars and whatever else. Now, once again, you got something else in common with your Black brother, with your Hispanic sister, or whatever else that you didn't want to admit, and that is that y'all all out in the cold. That Donald Trump and that the higher ups are taking from all of you. Okay, so you know that's staring at you. You can decide not to stare back if you don't want to. But the problem is the reality is going to speak louder than all of that. So hopefully people get that. And, you know, the Fox people are interesting, because those that kind of want to tell the truth, they kind of sheepish about it. Like, you know, they worry, like somebody looking backstage and saying, well, let's pull him and not put him back on. I don't know how that goes, you know, when you need to make something else out of actual facts that say we are doing worse by any objective measure. So I guess that's the soap opera of Fox News. You won't hear the truth, but at least you get to see how people react.
You know, Jocelyn, Illinois, 2,500 Tyson food workers out of a job because the plant shut down. In Nebraska, Kellogg plant shut down. 3 plants shut down in the last week. All of them voted for Trump by more than 10 points. How you like me now? All right, y'all. I'll be right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. All right, folks, let me get personal for a second. My mom had questions about her Medicare, so she called Chapter, a Medicare advisory company, and she texted me right after saying it's a great benefit. It was easy. A real person walked her through the whole thing, and now she understands better what's going on. But it's not just her. A woman in Yonkers wrote in saying the process was so simple, the enrollment was easy, and she was so glad she called. Then there's Marilyn, 90 years old, in Florida, living on Social Security. Her premium climbed every single year north of $400 a month for coverage she could barely afford anymore. So what does she do? She called Chapter. They found her the same top-tier coverage for hundreds of dollars less. 90 years old, and finally somebody in her corner. I hear stories like that again and again from our community. The Medicare system was not built to work for you. Too much fine print, too many plans. Yet Chapter's advisors are independent and honest, the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide. They're focused on one thing, what actually works for you. If you're already in the right plan, they'll tell you. No games. And people who switched with Chapter saved an average of $1,100 a year. All it takes is 20 minutes. You talk to a real person, and it's completely free help. So call Chapter at 724-264-8281, 724-264-8281. That's Chapter.
I don't know about you, but I find it interesting that so many people think they know black men so well. How we feel, what we think, what we want, why we do what we do. Hell, they even told us why we vote and why we didn't vote, but never asked us what our aspirations were, what scared us, what pisses us off, what we live for, how we live. That's what this show is. No translation, because we don't need anybody speaking for us, but we do need to speak for ourselves. This is not a traditional election show. And we don't need to speak through other people's lens. It's no translation. Right here on the Black Star Network. Join us.
Hey everybody, I'm T.D. Jakes, and I want to encourage you to watch Roland Martin Unfiltered. It'll blow your mind.
In Texas, the high-profile Frisco track meet stabbing case is back in court on Wednesday. Karmelo Anthony's attorneys will ask the appointed San Antonio judge Sid Harrell to remove Judge John Roach from the case post-trial proceedings. Anthony's team, led by Russell Wilson, believes that Roach's rulings limiting public access violated Anthony's civil rights. If Roach is recused on Wednesday, another judge will sit over Thursday's hearing for a new trial. If he is not recused, Anthony's new lawyers must present their arguments for a new trial before the same judge who has said he believed the initial trial was fair despite there being no black jurors. Thursday's hearing could feature new facts and testimony that have not been made public before. In June, the Collin County jury found Anthony guilty of first-degree murder in connection with the death of 17-year-old Austin Metcalf during a track meet in April 2025 at Memorial High School. Anthony was sentenced to 35 years in prison. Folks, a national prayer vigil is set for August 19th, that's tomorrow, for what would have been Nola Wells' 19th birthday. His family and supporters will hold a commemoration at the Greater St. John AME Church in Biloxi, Mississippi. The NAACP has joined the legal team representing the family of Wells. Kristen Clark will be on the show tomorrow to discuss why the NAACP found it important to help the Wells family. Nolan's body was found on a Mississippi barrier island after a 4th of July boat trip to Horn Island with 3 white friends. Jackson County DA Angel Myers McElrath said the results of the autopsy report, along with other evidence collected during the investigation, remain sealed pending the outcome of the criminal investigation to determine whether criminal wrongdoing took place. His parents, Christine and Elmore, along with their attorney Ben Crump, spoke last week at NABJ convention in Atlanta about the investigation and the main objective, pursuing justice, truth, and transparency into what happened to Nolan. Folks, the second day of testimony in the trial of a man accused of orchestrating the killing of the legendary rapper Tupac Shakur. Dwayne Kefty Davis is charged with murder of the 1996 killing of Tupac. Dr. Lisa Gavin, a forensic pathologist and medical examiner for Clark County, Nevada, testified about Tupac's injuries. She described how the bullets damaged his ribs, lungs, intestines, and other parts of his body. He died in the hospital 6 days after he was shot. Davis is the first person charged in connection with the musician's death. This comes nearly 30 years after Tupac was killed in a drive-by shooting in Las Vegas. Prosecutors say Davis was the mastermind behind the shooting and provided the gun. A tell-all book Davis published in 2019 revived the cold case. He was arrested in 2023 and has pleaded not guilty. His attorney argues the book was fictionalized to make a profit. I don't know who would actually fictionalize that. That sounds just a wee bit weird. Okay? All right, that's it for headlines. Go to a break, right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered. All right, folks, let me get personal for a second. My mom had questions about her Medicare, so she called Chapter, a Medicare advisory company, and she texted me right after saying it's a great benefit. It was easy. A real person walked her through the whole thing, and now she understands better what's going on. But it's not just her. A woman in Yonkers wrote in saying the process was so simple, the enrollment was easy, and she was so glad she called. Then there's Marilyn, 90 years old, in Florida, living on Social Security. Her premium climbed every single year north of $400 a month for coverage she could barely afford anymore. So what does she do? She called Chapter. They found her the same top-tier coverage for hundreds of dollars less. 90 years old, and finally somebody in her corner. I hear stories like that again and again from our community. The Medicare system was not built to work for you. Too much fine print, too many plans. Yet Chapter's advisors are independent and honest, the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide. They're focused on one thing, what actually works for you. If you're already in the right plan, they'll tell you. No games. And people who switched with Chapter saved an average of $1,100 a year. All it takes is 20 minutes. You talk to a real person, and it's completely free help. So call Chapter at 724-264-8281, 724-264-8281. That's Chapter.
I don't know about you, but I find it interesting that so many people think they know black men so well. How we feel, what we think, what we want, why we do what we do. Hell, they even told us why we vote and why we didn't vote, but never asked us what our aspirations were, what scared us, what pisses us off, what we live for, how we live. That's what this show is. No translation, because we don't need anybody speaking for us, but we do need to speak for ourselves. This is not a traditional election show. And we don't need to speak through other people's lens. It's no translation. Right here on the Black Star Network. Join us.
How you doing? I'm Mark Curry, and you're watching the Black Star Network. That's why I got these glasses on, because that black star is bright.
All right, folks, we were talking about the elections today in Florida, and boy, this didn't take long. Listen, it's 7:28, polls barely closed. The Hill just reported this. Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Congresswoman clinches Florida House primary win despite pushback from black Democrats. Now, remember, she ran for this seat after gerrymandering took place there. She was running against former Congresswoman Sheila Sherfilis McCormick, who resigned earlier this year. Well, she's about to get ousted. She's about to get expelled from the House. Luther Campbell was in this race as well. Here's what was stupid, okay? You can't have several black people running in a seat and you think you were going to be the well-funded candidate. Now, had they, and they met several times to talk about, hey, we need to come to a consensus candidate. Nobody wants to drop out. Now they all dropping out, Mustafa.
Yeah, this is the way that I look at this. Sometimes we allow our egos to get in our way. And we have to do what's best for our community. If you truly love our community, like so many people say they do, then we got to do what's best for our community. If you are polling at 3%, 4%, 5%, you're not going to make up another 20 or 30%, especially if there's 3 or 4 or 5 other people that are in the race. So if you truly want to make sure that we have representation, that comes from our community and has a best interest of our community at heart, then that means sometimes that you've got to not just step aside, but you have to, make sure that you are supporting the person who has the best opportunity to win. I know some folks might see it differently, but we're right now in a moment where we don't get to make mistakes. We have to make sure that we have individuals who we know without a doubt are authentically running because they care about what happens in our communities and wants to make sure that our communities are uplifted.
It is baffling to me, Lisa, that all of them could stay in and somehow thought that they could beat a well-funded, long-time Democratic congresswoman?
You know, I agree with Dr. Ali. I said this earlier. I'm the person that feels like we should all be able to run. I'm all for that. But when it gets right down to it, like Dr. Ali said, now we're looking at you're polling at 0.0001%. You're polling at beneath the surface percent. Now it gets into what's good for the collective. I'm so sick of the individualism in this country, or really in the world. It's a disease, or it's a pandemic, an epidemic. I can't tell. So nobody wants to drop out. And if you drop out, are you really dropped out? See, here's my thing about people who run for office. Do you really care? Do you have to be a politician to do what's right for the people? So if you actually were running because you cared about the people, then you drop out, and all of you get behind the other individual who's pulling higher to help them with the campaign. Knock on doors, kiss babies, shake hands, make flyers, fried chicken, make potato salad without the raisins, go hard in the paint. Put toothpicks under your eyes and make it happen. But no, you want to be a local superstar. You want to be in the place to be. That's not how that works. I'll use track again. Sometimes I ran a track meet with the worst run on the track team because my coach had to spread us thin. Lisa, we're putting Sabrina in anchor leg. Even though she sucks, you got to run for her because we want to win the 4x8 and we've got to spread these folks out. I didn't go, well, she can't run good. We got behind that because what we want to do, we want to win more than one thing. People are selfish. Right there, it tells you the politicians who were polling low, they don't care about you. Next time, find out, I'm not voting for you. That's what's going on. It happens everywhere. And I'm not understanding why people see the math is not mathing. The math is not mathing. Get behind the person who has the best chance to win. What's the problem? Like Dr. Lee said, is it your ego? So that means you don't really care about the people. You want to be a local superstar too. It's a problem.
Joe, these are the early voting numbers. Again, they already called the race. You can see right here. You've got Luther, Uncle Luke Campbell, Sheila Sherfullis McCormick, Dale Holderness, Elijah Manley, all African-American. 4 African-Americans running against Wasserman Schultz. She has 50.53%. Okay? It's not like she couldn't be beaten. But none of those 4 wanted to drop out.
Yeah, and quick math, it looks like all those 4 together are 33 plus 15, and so that's 48 to her 53, assuming it would have been the 50.
No, she's got 50. She's at 50.
She's got 50.
50.53.
Right, and so you are right where you need to be if you consolidate, is the point. And so, we have to decide. We can't have this, if it's not me, it can't be any of us kind of thing. You have to get behind somebody. We saw something similar here in California when, 18 people was running for governor, however many it was. And really, we got lucky that Swalwell got smoked out. So he had to leave it because otherwise it could have been 2 Republicans in there, or we could have jeopardized ourselves going towards the fall. And so not only is it important if you understand that you can't win and the numbers don't match up, is to get out, but to get out early enough so you get off the ballot so that the residual of you is not there. You know what I mean? And so, so it's a serious problem. And listen, she might have run in some other district, but her money came with her, her campaign account came with her, her name recognition came with her. She is not a slouch, Debbie Wasserman Schultz. However one might feel about her, if you wanted to have a chance to beat her, you needed to join forces. It wasn't going to be just one of you. Even Luke. Luke made some records. He did pretty good with the Supreme Court. But that's not going to be enough to win for Congress, as it turns out. And so you have to do what you have to do in order to win if the goal is winning. And that's the big if here.
The governor's race and U.S. Senate race results won't be available until after 8 p.m. And so we'll be certainly certainly watching that. One of the things that we've talked about when it comes to these elections, when you look at numbers, and it's very interesting. I saw something earlier. Wait a minute, Nikki Barnes. Hold on one second. I saw this tweet from her. I cracked up laughing when she posted it. Give me 1 second. Yeah, Nikki Barnes. She's a Florida consultant, and she tweeted this: based on the numbers I'm seeing, Democratic voters 50 to 65 plus are getting ready to choose every last one of our Democratic nominees. Now, some of y'all are about to be mad, but I would encourage you to call the younger millennials and Gen Z and tell them to go vote. Y'all have heard me say this numerous times. At the largest demographic in America are millennials and Gen Z. They outnumber Gen X. They outnumber baby boomers. They have the numbers. But they don't vote. And I keep saying it over and over and over again. If you're a millennial and a Gen Z, you keep yelling, I'm so sick of seeing all these old people. I'm tired of seeing all these old people. I have listened to y'all bitch about Clyburn, and y'all say Maxine, and y'all say Mfume. Oh, all these folks. I'm sick and tired of these 70 and 80-year-old people holding office. We need to pass the baton. No, y'all need to pass the ballot. This is not that hard, y'all. If you do not vote, you are not going to win. And the numbers don't lie. The two groups that vote the highest across the board, 54, 55, 64, and 65 plus. That's who's going to the polls. So I don't want to, I don't know what it takes. I don't know what it takes, Joe, but I'm just going to keep saying, hey, man, the candidates are not just going to come to your house and knock on your door and sit in your lap and say, let's go vote. So when you look at the ballot, student loan debt's on the ballot, health care's on the ballot, housing's on the ballot. All the stuff, you look at all of these polls, all these surveys, all these things, it's right there. But they got to show the hell up.
That would seem to be motivating, right? The idea that healthcare is so expensive, the idea that housing is so expensive. A kid's not going to graduate from college in Southern California and afford $3,000, $3,500 rent to start. It's not going to happen. It would seem as if they would have the urgency to step up and make their voices heard through voting. Andy Young said in his book years ago, he said he was talking about more of the Black establishment, the older folks, the Roy Wilkins, people in NAACP and Urban League. And he said, was there a little friction there? There might have been, but the fact of the matter is nobody gave us power. We took it. We brought it directly to the people. And so if the youngins want to be heard, all they have to do is get involved based on what they need, based on what they're missing, based on the fact that it's going to be more difficult for my child to have the same advantages economically, et cetera, that I did. That ought to be a motivating factor, one would seem. And so you can't stand on the sidelines and you're supposed to be in the game and then, be pissed about the outcome. That's not going to do anything. And really, if you really want people to be responsive and to react to what your concerns are, you have to show up with your vote. Because if we all did show up and vote like that, there is some combination and some correlation between what the older folk, mature folks would want and the younger folks would want. We would be winning elections all the time. And so they need to show up, show out, do what you need to do because you got needs too.
And that's the thing, Lisa. I mean, I don't know.
Right.
I mean, you can't say, well, I didn't know, I didn't realize it. I mean, I'm sorry. At some point, you have to grow your ass up. And look, I tell my nieces, welcome to adulting.
No, right. Now, I'm going to have to push back a little bit. I am a senior citizen, you know. I am cute. But I got to just say, it's about representation. It's not as simple as y'all Negroes vote. Now, I'm going to say this here.
Hold on, stop. When you say it's about representation, what does that mean?
I'm about to tell you. Now, I call them lifers. I'm not going to name no names of all of the lifers who've been in Congress since 1975, 1982, and 1905, and 1962. They've all been there. They don't do what I think. I'm not a political strategist. I'm a little black girl from Newark with an idea. I really think what would help the vote for the little youngins is if the lifers didn't try to be there for life and they do or can do what Mom Donnie did. You need to groom other yous. I need other yous to groom other yous. Bring them along and you help them to get their campaigns together and you push them up. It's not as simple as saying, oh, just vote because you can, you know, millennials and Gen Zs. I need the Mom Donnie effect. I need individuals to run people on tickets like what Mom Donnie's doing. He's 30. He's running other 30-somethings and 40-somethings. Can't the lifers do that? Can't they bring people along and say, hey,
this has nothing to do with lifers bringing them along. No, this has nothing to do with lifers bringing them along. This has to do with.
No, I'm saying if lifers
this
bring them
has
along,
to do with whether.
representation.
This has to do with whether they're showing up. If they show up, they can elect whoever the hell they want to elect. But they're not showing.
It's a chicken and egg thing. It's a chicken and egg thing, Roland. It's chicken and egg. What came first, the chicken and egg? If I see me, I might go out and vote.
But I can't see me unless I win. Oh, look, I can't see me unless somebody vote for somebody who looks like me and they win.
Okay, Roland, it's a chicken. What came first, chicken or the egg?
No, I can't sit here and say, man, I sure want to see some young folks run. Are you voting? No, I ain't voting till I see some young folks run.
I don't think it's that. Nobody's sitting there saying, I'm not going to vote till young people run. I just think it's.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
When I first saw Sue Simmons, I said, I want to be an anchor person. I didn't think until I see a black woman anchor person, I'm not going to be a black woman anchor person.
Okay. Okay, but the reality is. But the reality is you can't get elected. You can't see someone unless they get elected.
I'm getting
And you can't get elected unless you get votes. And if the folks don't vote for you, you ain't never getting elected. And then if you don't get elected, they ain't gonna see your ass.
Are y'all brothers? Help a sister out. Help Brick City out.
No, I think you're on your own on this one. Mustafa,
y'all brothers know what I'm trying to say.
No, they know what you.
I'm not feeling you right now.
They know what you saying, but they ain't buying.
Don't be on his side because he's a man.
It ain't got nothing to do with no man. It ain't got what it has to do with. I'm telling you, this is real simple. You can't sit here and say it's like all them yahoos say no tangibles, no vote. Your ass ain't getting no tangibles during the election. You need the person to win to get tangibles.
Listen, I'm the least political person in the world. When I was called on to run for lieutenant governor in the Green Party back in 2017, we didn't win. I didn't want to do it. Someone said, Lisa, based on these things we think about you, we want you to run for the Green Party lieutenant governor. I had no thought of doing it. I wasn't interested in doing it. I said, okay, what the hell? Now, we didn't win, but somebody said they reached in and pulled me in, and then the idea came, we had a few meetings, okay. Now, we didn't win, but there were a lot of individuals, regular John Does, Jane Does, who said, oh my God, I'm inspired by Lisa. She's a just round the way girl. And I got a lot of votes, although we didn't win. But I didn't think, let me run for representation. Somebody asked me, then there was representation. The chicken egg theory. Okay, Roland's not feeling me. Damn you, Roland.
No, I'm not. And the reason I'm not is because Mustafa, it reminds me of when Reverend Jackson was in Ferguson, and all these young brothers were upset with the death of Michael Brown. And Reverend Jackson said, you want to see them cops get charged? Yeah. Do you want to see the cop go to prison? Yeah. Would you love to be on that jury to convict? Yeah. Reverend Jackson said, you know you can't serve on a jury unless you're a registered voter. None of them were registered. So it's like the brother doing after the death of George Floyd. Man, these politicians ain't nothing. They ain't gonna change. I'm gonna march. If your ass is marching and you don't vote, all your ass is doing is taking a walk.
Yeah. I mean, it's real. You know, I like to use myself for a real world example. So I work with all kinds of young people all across this country, some outside the country. So we'll focus on the ones here. I'm always encouraging them when they tell me that they, are not appreciating what they're seeing. There's impacts that are happening. I'm like, well, you got to run. You got to run for office yourself. It doesn't mean you got to run for congressman or senator. Start, on the local level, and then as you build your portfolio, you can move up. So I do think that it's important for us to encourage young people to run for office. But of course, you got to vote. You got to get registered to be able to do that. The other part of it is that younger people, especially the groups that you just mentioned, are going to be facing a different set of challenges along with some of the traditional challenges because our economy is changing so rapidly, jobs are disappearing, and younger people need to be playing a role in framing out these new sets of opportunities that are going to be in front of them. And if you are not, voting, if you are not a part of the process, then somebody else is going to be making some decisions, and more than likely they won't be beneficial to you. We can flip this same conversation to brothers who are on the corner who are deciding not to vote. And I have the exact same conversation with them. If you want something to change, then you should run for office, because often you'll hear people say, well, I don't want to vote for that Democrat or that Republican or maybe even that independent. First thing I say is, why don't you or somebody who you have respect for get them to run, and then you get engaged and make sure that you're voting and getting other people registered, so forth and so on. And I think that has to be a part of the conversation, because it goes back to what I say about you have power unless you give it away. Most people don't understand how many things are tied up into what we're discussing today and why they need to be playing a leadership role in the direction for our community and our country.
Votes are about numbers. If I get more than this person, I win. And all I'm saying to millennials and Gen Z, y'all literally have the numbers. The numbers are on your side. But that means nothing if you don't maximize your numbers. If you are not voting in huge numbers, and if when you look at the turnout, y'all, it don't lie. Who votes the highest? 65 plus. Who's second highest? 55, 64. Who's third highest? 45, 54. And then it goes down. 35, 44. Then it goes 25, 34. Then it goes 18, 24. And the lower you go down, the lower the numbers. I'm saying y'all got the numbers. Use them. I'll be right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Support us. Join our Bring the Fuck fan club. You want to contribute via Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here. It's for credit cards as well. Check some money order. Make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037 0196. PayPal's R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back. All right, folks, let me get personal for a second. My mom had questions about her Medicare, so she called Chapter, a Medicare advisory company, and she texted me right after saying it's a great benefit. It was easy. A real person walked her through the whole thing, and now she understands better what's going on. But it's not just her. A woman in Yonkers wrote in saying the process was so simple, the enrollment was easy, and she was so glad she called. Then there's Marilyn, 90 years old, in Florida, living on Social Security. Her premium climbed every single year north of $400 a month for coverage she could barely afford anymore. So what does she do? She called Chapter. They found her the same top-tier coverage for hundreds of dollars less. 90 years old, and finally somebody in her corner. I hear stories like that again and again from our community. The Medicare system was not built to work for you. Too much fine print, too many plans. Yet Chapter's advisors are independent and honest, the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide. They're focused on one thing, what actually works for you. If you're already in the right plan, they'll tell you. No games, and people who switched with Chapter saved an average of $1,100 a year. All it takes is 20 minutes. You talk to a real person, and it's completely free help. So call Chapter at 724-264-8281, 724-264-8281. That's Chapter.
I don't know about you, but I find it interesting that so many people think they know black men so well. How we feel, what we think, what we want, why we do what we do. Hell, they even told us why we vote and why we didn't vote, but never asked us what our aspirations were, what scared us, what pisses us off, what we live for, how we live. That's what this show is. No translation, because we don't need anybody speaking for us, but we do need to speak for ourselves. This is not a traditional election show. And we don't need to speak through other people's lens. It's no translation. Right here on the Black Star Network. Join us.
Hi, I'm Swing Cash, Basketball Hall of Famer, and you're watching Black Star Network.
All right, y'all. If you're ladies, you're looking for you're a bag lover. This is just for you. Just Melanin CEO and founder Miosha McFadden has created Brown Girl Bags, a luxury handbag brand that centers black women in spaces where elegance, confidence, and representation belong. Miosha joins us now from Atlanta. Miosha, glad to have you here. How you got Brown Girl bags and your ass sent me a black bag?
Well, see, I ran out. I had an event 2 Saturdays ago, and I sold out of all the brown ones. But that's still a bestseller.
So,
Brown Girl bag is still
all right. So I literally do not understand the concept of women in these damn bags. I don't get it. It's a bag, okay? So take us through, because we've seen some crazy expensive bags. Lord, I've seen people crying over a Birkin, which makes no sense to me. And so when you were creating the bag, so when you were making comparisons, when you were studying, when you were looking at the bag that will attract customers, what went all into it?
Yeah, so growing up, my aunts, they sold bags. They sold like bags that were already made, like the Louis Vuittons. They were just redoing bags. And so like all in high school, I used to have different bags. I used to love bags. And so I didn't really grow up in a household that we had a lot of money to afford like the luxury items. So when I graduated college and I started making that money, I was buying the real bags, and I was just putting my money out into these different brands that didn't necessarily want us in their stuff. So my whole goal was to start a brand that represented us, represented Black women, allowing us to feel stylish, feminine, and bold and confident.
All right. And so what were you doing when you started this? I mean, what was your background?
So a little bit about myself. I do a lot of things. So I'm a licensed therapist. I'm a hairstylist. I'm a mom, a business owner, mentor. And so I know what it's like to wear different hats. So the idea of the Brown Girl bag, became bigger than just a handbag. It became like a representation of what we carry, everything that we carry. So, like I said, I did start after I graduated from college in 2015. I went to an HBCU and I saw like how that was like a culture shock for me. And I just wanted something to represent us. And so, like I said, I was putting money into different brands and they didn't necessarily want us in their stuff. So why not create a brand that welcomes us, for us, by us?
Okay. All right. So, so take us through your bags. Is it a question of, and first of all, where are your bags made? How are they crafted?
I have them manufactured overseas. So I let them know my idea. They create it, they send it back. And the idea is to have different shades of us. So I have the browns, I have like the light colors, I have the darker colors, and that's like the craftsmanship behind it. And they're vegan leather bags, so they're affordable.
Vegan leather bags. Okay. All right. Gotcha. Do you have bags for meat lovers?
I mean, I like meat. So,
all right. Just check. Question for the panel. Lisa, you first.
What's the T on my bag, sis? What's the T? I got a P.O. box number.
I'll give you one. I'll give you one. And like I said, they my tagline, every time someone buys a bag, they say, I love my brown girl bag, because I look at it as not just a bag. Like I said, it's a representation of everything that we have to carry. It's a statement piece. It speaks before you even get to.
Absolutely. And I wanted to ask, an important question since we're talking. When you started your business right around the crux of the whole, the tariffs and yada, 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 yada. So what happened when all the tariff BS jumped the hell off? What happened to the manufacturing and your price point and all of that?
It was definitely a lot. Like I said, I didn't come from like the background where I had a lot of money to invest in luxury. And so my whole goal was to make it affordable luxury. So around that time when everything happened, like my business, like the money that I poured in it, it was a terrible point. And so it was moments where I wondered, why am I really doing this? But when I was like I used to go to different colleges popping up, and I used to see a student, with the bags, and then it reminded me of why I started. So a lot of times when I'm like crashing down, I just remember, my why.
I love that. Do you think there's somebody an American manufacturer who you can use, whether they're black or white? Do you have any American manufacturers you looked into where you won't have to worry about getting things from overseas, Japan, China, wherever? Is there such a thing as that? Since they're not leather.
It is, but a lot of them, the price point is higher than what it is overseas. So if that's the case, I would have to go up on what I'm charging.
I've said that. I've said that for a very long time. That people, when they always say, "Can you make it in the country?" I'm like, "Yeah, but are you going to pay the higher price?" I mean, that's just the bottom line. That when it comes to it. Joe.
Yeah.
Congratulations on what it is that you're doing. A couple questions: are there different sizes? And talk about the different purposes too. Could I use dumb question? Could I use this bag at the supermarket? Could I use it as a carry-on? I imagine that I could on the plane, things like that. Tell me about the uses that you contemplate for the bags.
Yeah, well, see, for me, I love that you can dress it up, you can dress it down, you can take it to brunch. It just depends on, what you're comfortable with. A lot of people don't want to carry a really big bag if they're like going to like an elegant dinner, but I do have a smaller version. It's not necessarily crafted big, like boxy. I have like a smaller, like shoulder bag. So, you can take it to work, travel, you can really just make it your own. Because like I said, I want it to be a representation of everything that we are. My goal is to definitely branch out and get different sizes and different colors. But like I said, when everything started with the tariffs, it kind of put me back 10 steps. So I'm trying to build back up.
Mustafa.
Congratulations on all the success so far. I'm curious, what does 2027 look like for you and your business?
That's a great question. I guess it's always hard for me because I envision what I wanted it to be by now, because I started in 2024. So I was saying like in the next 2 years, I'll see my bag on celebrities. I'll see my bag on the screen. It'll be big, but it's not there yet, but that's still always the goal. I want it to be more awareness on it. I want the little girls to see it and see this bag is for me. You know, I want it to be like a big thing because, like I said, I'm a mentor. So, like, even when I go into the schools, it's always bullying on skin color, you know, who's lighter than the next, you know, it's a lot. So my bag is like for all of that, to pull all that together and to remind you that you're confident no matter, you know, what. So I hope it can be like worldwide to where little girls can see it and know that the bag is for them. So, you know, they can see it from a bigger perspective.
Thank you.
Folks, so if y'all want to check out Miosha's bags, do me a favor, go to shopblackstarnetwork.com. Shopblackstarnetwork.com to check out her bags. You got all the bags there on the website. And so if you go to shopblackstarnetwork.com, you can check them out. And you can, of course, support Brown Girl bags. That's right. Even though I got a black one right here. Brown Girl bag. And so y'all can check it all out by going to shopblackstarnetwork.com. Shopblackstarnetwork.com. Miosha, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
All right. Give me 1 second, folks. We have been covering, looking at what's happening in the Florida races. And I'm checking something right now. And I don't see this here. So we told you that initially we said numbers were coming in at 8 o'clock. Yo, I just made a phone call and they said AP called it. I have not seen. Do me a favor, Keenan, Carol, I need you to check the AP wire to see if they've actually called this race in Florida. Yo, if they call this race in Florida, shockwaves are going to be sent. This is this is the New York Times. With 83% of the vote in, Angie Nixon is up 55-44 against Alex Vindman. He's a retired lieutenant colonel. She's a state representative. Y'all, he had endorsements. He had millions of dollars. Everybody, she did not raise lots of money. It was Angie Nixon, of course, who was battling, fighting voter suppression, fighting Ron DeSantis. Y'all, straight up, according to, I just made a call to someone who's working on her campaign and said, Roland, this over. She's won. AP called it. That means that, but I haven't seen, nope. Take it back. Go to my iPad. It has been called. Go to my iPad. Angie Nixon has won the Democratic primary in the state of Florida. The race has been called by the Associated Press. Yo, that is a huge upset in Florida, Mustafa. Again, she was being crushed in the fundraising. He had the endorsements, Democratic establishment. I told y'all, I kept telling people, watch the enthusiasm, watch what this is. Folks are saying in Florida, we want a fighter representing us. This is huge, Mustafa.
So there's a new set of energy, right? If you look at many of the races across the country, even for the ones that are close, and maybe those who folks label as freedom fighters, as we the people, people have a different set of expectations right now, and she meets those expectations. See somebody who doesn't back down. See somebody who has a very well thought out plan. See someone who also understands how these levers of power work. And, she's bringing a new set of energy. And people want that. People are looking for somebody who's authentic, to be quite honest with you. Somebody who's not going to just, bend the knee. Somebody who's going to make sure that the things they care about in community are being honored and lifted up. And if you're not bringing that energy, then you're just the same old, same old. So in many instances across this country, you're going to see this play out time and time again because people, want something different and they're willing to show up, cast their vote for it, and we'll see how the general goes.
Y'all, this is huge, Lisa. Again, folks were saying, oh, Vindman, he's going to run away with this race.
Yeah, you know, there was a song back in the 80s. I forgot who made the song. The line goes, I want a new one that won't make me sick. So we're sick of these same olds, like the doctor said, Dr. Ali said. So you're seeing this energy that's playing out across the country in other races, much like the race in Florida, like you have the Mamdani effect. The same thing happened in Newark a couple of weeks ago, where Donna Jackson was very similar to her. She was the freedom fighter for 20, 30 years, kissing babies and shaking hands, making sure she's fighting the status quo. She won in Newark as the councilwoman at large with like $2,000 because the energy was there. So this same energy was there in Florida, and I was not shocked at that because, like he said, people are tired of it. We want fighters. We don't want people to kiss the ring and bow down to individuals. We want people who not only say they're going to fight, but they are punching folks out and knocking folks out in the ring. That's why I think she won, and that's what I think is going to be momentum, like you said, Roland, across the country. It's going down. Meet me in the mall. It's going down. It's going down, and I'm excited. I like the young folks.
I've always said this, Joe. Ballots beats bucks. You can raise a ton of money, but you got to hit that ground in order to pull those votes, and that's what Angie Nixon here did.
Yeah, you gotta reach people. You've got to be on the ground. You've got to be somebody that people can potentially connect with. There is now, money is money, but ballots, can beat bucks, right? If people connect to you and they consider you as real, they consider you as fresh, they consider you as somebody that will actually fight for them. It's too bad for Vindman, because Vindman was in a particular place, in a particular space, where he looked like this underdog coming into politics, as it were. But then he has all the traditional money. He has all the traditional support. And in the worst case scenario, you add that with the option of a fighter, people might start looking at you a little bit sideways. And that's what actually ended up happening here. All the money and all the endorsements didn't end up being the thing, because there's still quality over quantity. It's still quality over quantity, and in a certain scenario and at a certain time. And I think it's not to be lost on us that this is going on in Florida. People in Florida elections, Republicans in Florida elections, in statewide elections in Florida should not be taken for granted that this is yesterday's Florida, that this is Ron DeSantis's Florida. Things can actually change very, very quickly because the numbers are down there to help make it change if you've got the right candidate who can connect to people in a real and authentic way.
This was a headline that was at one of the TV stations in Florida. Alex Vindman's money advantage meets Angie Nixon's Florida roots in Democratic Senate primary. Now, keep in mind, they were running for the special election to fill the final 2 years of the term of Senator Marco Rubio, who became Secretary of State under Donald Trump. They will have to run again in 2028. Ashley Moody was picked by the Republicans to replace him. And so Angie Nixon is going to be running against Ashley Moody in November. Again, Mustafa, Vindman raised like $16 million. I mean, the PACs, all these different people. We had Angie Nixon on the show. Y'all should be having the B-roll. We had Angie Nixon on the show, and she talked about, hey, I ain't got that money, but we out here in these streets, and we're sitting here making it happen. And again, she's somebody who's been straight up fighting, and I'm telling you, people want to see fighters. And listen, Nikki Fried has been trying to put the Florida Democratic Party back together. We're watching the race there. We're watching the race there as well. When it comes to, let me pull up a second. I want to see the gubernatorial race. What's going on there? What's happening there? Let me see here. Bottom line is that when you start talking about these races, listen. It's so clearly, based upon what we see right here, it's going to be Byron Donalds on the Republican side. He wins with 48% of the vote to 24%. He is going to be the Republican nominee. And then on the Democratic side, former Republican David Jolly is going to be running against Donalds. He easily wins he easily wins there. So again, we're in a climate right now where if you want to play it nice, play it safe, Mustafa, that ain't gonna cut it. Folk want to know, are you going to confront and look these fascists in their eyes and say, I'm gonna take you down?
People want to know if you're gonna throw them bows. That's what they want to know, because that's what you literally
Nuck
have to
if
do,
you buck.
I mean, you got to. You really don't have a choice anymore. People want authenticity. People often talk about politics and they talk about grassroots, but they don't come from the grassroots, so they don't know how to actually build a grassroots movement. You know, we were blessed to have her on the show. She actually understands what that looks like, building those strong coalitions, because I've often said, and I've seen it numerous times, that the power of people will beat the power of money every time, if you are organized and if people show up and if people understand that they have power. And she was able to translate that. She was not able to just translate it, but she was able to make sure that people actually felt it, because people can see it and they can hear it. But if they don't touch it and then feel it, then, you know, often it does not translate into the fullness of what it could be. So to see that transpire just reinvigorates so many people across the country who sometimes give up or think that my voice doesn't matter or my vote doesn't matter. She made people understand that, yes, it does. And if you give me that vote, I won't let you down. I'll get in there, I'll swing, I'll work when there's opportunities to work, you know, in a fashion with other types of folks, maybe across the aisle, if that's something that shows up. But if not, I'm not going to, you know, I'm not going to fall backwards on what my values and priorities are for the people whom I serve. So that's good. The other one, you know, that's going to be an interesting race with Byron Donaldson and then Jolly on the other side of the equation, because it's going to be a very, very tight race. Florida could look very different in the next set of months. So folks should really take a deep look at the candidates and figure out whom best represents what you want the future of Florida to look like. And then I hope folks across the country will do the same thing and ask themselves, what do you want America to look like? And how do you want America to play a more positive role in your life, in your community?
Well, Lisa, bottom line is they've been talking about, again, when you look at Florida, Republicans have been doing well. But guess what? There are massive issues in Florida. People are selling their homes. They got insurance issues. I mean, Ron DeSantis has not been running the state well, and this could be. I mean, I'm talking about a blue tsunami. And again, we keep saying it's about boots on the ground. It's about investing in the ground. In those special elections, Republicans were winning some of those, but by very tight margins. When Nikki Fried has been on here numerous times saying, hey, National Democrats, put money in this state. We can turn this thing around. And so it's going to be really interesting with Jolly on the gubernatorial side, Nixon on the Senate side, in terms of how they can really, really drum up enthusiasm in the state.
Yeah, I think this is a strike while the iron's hot moment in politics, especially around the country. And we mentioned last week, I think I forgot what the segment was, Roland, and I said, you know, I asked the guests, you know, what's your ground game like? You know, I'm always asking politicians, what's your ground game like? And, you know, if they don't have the answer, they don't have a ground game. Angie Dixon had a ground game, and it wasn't just about, you know, the usual kiss the babies, fry some chicken, and hand out flyers. She really meant to listen to the people to see what they wanted to do. And also, she's not afraid to fight, like we're all saying, because, you know, they talk about, you know, the usual thing, you know, when they go low, we go high. I love that. Cute, 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 cute. But no, when they go low, she goes to hell with them. She's not scared of them. She's not playing with them. She's not going into any direction other than what the people want. She looks at that as, you are my boss. I mean, she never said the words, but that's how she's moving. That's her attitude. And I am so glad that I'm seeing this potential tsunami, this potential blue tsunami. I'm so energized and excited because for a long time, Florida has been wilding out on people, going hard in the paint to make sure that they keep you down. And now we're at this moment where we're going to flip the script on y'all's asses, and y'all ain't gonna know where the blue went, as they say, where the blue went, where the red went, where the blue went. So I'm really interested, and I'm gonna be keeping up to see exactly how this is working. And once that momentum is set, you can't catch them now. I don't think they can be caught. It's going down.
Not only that, how many times have y'all heard me say every vote matters? We had State Senator Chevron Jones on to yesterday. He is running against Kendrick Meek Jr., the son of former Congressman Kendrick Meek, also Oliver Gilbert, Miami-Dade Commissioner. Y'all, look how close this is. With 93% of the ballots cast, 93% of the ballot cast, Oliver Gilbert is up by about 1,200 votes. 1,200 votes, 18,766 to 17,510. Just a total of 54,000 votes cast in that election. That is to replace Congresswoman Frederica Wilson. And so that's a battle right there of Omega and Alpha. One of the few times Omega is winning over an Alpha. But that's what's happening right there. And so we'll see in terms of what the outstanding votes are. But looks like Oliver Gilbert, with up 2 points, could eke this victory out. And again, perfect example. We said all the time, every vote matters. Folks, that's it for us. We're going to have more coverage on tomorrow's show. Let me thank Mustafa, Lisa, and Joe for being here. I certainly appreciate it. Thank you so very much. Folks, if you want to, of course, support the work that we do, join our Bring the Funk fan club. It's critically important that you support what we do because we don't have millionaires and billionaires cutting us checks. We ain't got Fortune 500 companies cutting us checks. We do this for the people. We cover the stuff that matters. And so your support is critically important. For Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here. That QR code is for credit cards as well. Checks and money order, make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. PayPal's R. Martin Unfiltered, Venmo RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Samsung Smart TV. Be sure to get our Roland Martin Unfiltered swag on Black Star Network swag by going to shop.blackstarnetwork.com. You see all of our great T-shirts with our American 250 shirts. I got our quotes on it, our Robert Patillo flamethrower shirt, and Don't Blame Me, I voted for the Black Woman shirt as well. Shop.blackstarnetwork.com. Every product that you see in our studio, these are all Black-owned companies. When you buy products from them, you are supporting this network. You're supporting them. And so go to shop.blackstarnetwork.com to peruse all of these products by going to our marketplace segment. Download the app, fan base. Follow me at Roland S. Martin. Folks, that's it. And also, shout out, of course, Jamel Hill sent me this. She sent me 2 shirts. One is black, one is white. I think I'm going to have the black one on tomorrow. Support Black journalists. And so, Jamel, I certainly appreciate it. Thanks a lot for this shirt. Folks, that's it. I'm going to see y'all tomorrow right here, Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.